welcome to my video. This is going to be my spoiler-free review of the 2016 movie Queen of Katwe. Happy Black History Month. This is directed by Indian-born Mira Nair, who I must watch more stuff by. I believe this is the first I've seen of her works, and I understand this is not the only time where she brings this real sense of authenticity, a lot of detail to the film based on where it's set and who it's about. It really, this from frame one is bathed in the culture of, it's set in Africa, specifically Uganda, and for, a number of the characters live in Katwe, a slum in Uganda. And something I really love about this, other than how great it is to see all this representation, diversity is our strength, this is not about how any of the Ugandans have to abandon their culture. It is good if they can get out of the slum, but it is not about, they have to be like white people. This movie doesn't do the white savior trope, and it also doesn't suggest that somehow these people are at fault for their own situation. Obviously the poverty is quite dominant in their lives. It is conspicuously unwilling to address what is the root cause of some of these problems, but I suppose it's less conspicuous when you realize it was made by Disney, who really don't want to upset, a bunch of people who make white fragility their entire personality. But it is very much this empowering story. It does get corny sometimes, not just because our protagonist Fiona sells maize. It very much does follow the structure of the traditional sports movie, and some people feel that the setting and the culture, that it has so much of is basically just a fresh coat of paint on the formula, and depending on who you ask, that is, a problem, or it's pretty good. I lean, I feel like I'm not the, given that I'm not black, I shouldn't say exactly. What I'll say is, I think there is strength in taking these kinds of universal stories and then telling a very specific version of it. It reminds me somewhat of other movies I've covered here, including Fire Island, which is basically, a gay, male, ethnically diverse version of the, I want to say it's Pride and Prejudice. It's one of those, If not that specific one, then it's one of the other books by that same author, whose name escapes me at the moment for some reason. Anyway, ADHD is the reason. There's also the movie Crush, where it's basically they take a straight, romantic comedy set in, high school, and retell it with, sapphic women. Just sometimes it's good to tell an empowering story that's, has some optimism about a minority who so frequently the stories told about them are tragic. This movie can help, probably has helped, it's almost 10 years old, challenge some of the ideas that a lot of us white people in the West are told about Africa. And I don't think it's entirely possible to watch this entire movie and never once get caught up in the enthusiasm of characters like Fiona. Right, and yeah, for those who know nothing about this movie yet, basically one day she discovers chess. She, practices it, becomes better at it, and starts competing, and, maybe it'll be a path out of poverty, out of the slums. And yeah, just like seeing, she's 14. She shouldn't be working. She certainly shouldn't be working so hard, but basically, if her mother needs all hands on deck, if not everyone in the family works, they don't eat. And yeah, seeing her triumphs along the way, and her, you get so happy for her. And seeing her, she struggles with some self-doubt, worries about losing, and, wasting a lot of time and money. It's hard not to really badly want her to succeed, and this is, of course, crucial to sports movies. Not every single movie ever made, but sports movies tend to need you to really want the protagonist to succeed. Part of it is the immense talent, not just of that actress, but in general. Like, a lot of the major cast here are not, like, really well known. Some of them have gone on to act since, but it is one of those cases where you can really see you don't necessarily need a lot of experience. You do need talent and to understand the character, but yeah, and this is also, I feel like, really challenges the whole DEI, moral panic, and this notion. It's so frustrating when you see a movie that is very much the story of people from a specific part of the world, and then they cast people who are sort of, but not really, from that part of the world. I don't think I'm going to shove my hand into the whole Emilia Perez debacle. I feel like, again, I am woefully unqualified for that, and besides, honestly, just what I will do is I will say, if you haven't already, you should, if you at all care about what's going on with that movie, you should watch the videos. Let's see, Jesse Gender and hold on, Council of Geeks. They made really excellent videos on it, and it's been a while since I watched. I want to say My Friends Call Me Pat also did a really solid one, and I did just see Cat Black just uploaded one. I haven't watched it yet, but I don't think I've ever seen a video of hers that wasn't amazing. So, but yeah, one of the things I will just briefly note, one of the things in that is it is, a very Mexican story, and they got a bunch of people who, like, more or less speak Spanish. Some of them do speak Spanish fairly well, but they're not Mexican, and they don't speak it with a Mexican accent. They don't have any connection to the culture there. And yeah, here, like, the major cast members are actually from Africa, so that lends a further level of authenticity to it. And credit to Mira Nair, she gets solid performances even out of the literal children. Like, just, yeah, like, it's obviously some people are gonna find it frustrating how, like, there is a little bit of the, like, it's not Disney TV show acting. It's good acting, to be clear, but some of the characterization, it is very this Disney thing of, oh, this kid's got a quirk and it's gonna keep popping up. It didn't bother me personally, and it's entirely possible that the real person was actually like that, so or is, but it definitely, they did, yeah, there's more of that than some people would like there to be. I have not read the book. I would like to. My library doesn't have it. what I did do some research, and I understand, one difference between the movie and the book, and the book is directly based on, even more so based on the real story. The one major aspect is that it focuses more, the book does, on the perspective of Fiona's mother, Harriet. I can imagine that. I do think they did a pretty good job in the movie. That was another, and not just because I already really appreciate the talents of Lupita Nyong'o, one of the two biggest names in the cast, along with, and I'm gonna make sure I get it, David Oyelowo. I hope I pronounced that right. I just realized I forgot to look up the pronunciation of it. But yeah, I haven't seen him in an awful lot else. I did think he was excellent in Black Panther, but yeah, Lupita, when she's playing a protective mother character, she is a strong woman, protective of at least one loved one. She is electric. Here, Us, Black Panther, okay, this will not stand. I know I remember it. Give me a second. The Jungle Book, it is incredible how, like, I was very impressed with her work. Like, in general, a lot of them do really well in that version of The Jungle Book, but she gets so much across with just her voice, because, it's an animated face. And from what I recall, she doesn't even have a huge amount of screen time, but it sticks with you. Like, this, she so badly wants to protect, her boy, and yeah, here, like, you really get that she's not a bad person. She isn't sure that chess is going to work out, and she's worried that the losses, because, if Fiona is going to spend a lot of time getting better at chess, that's time she's not selling anything. An important element here is that the father passed away, so it really is just her and her children, and of her children, not all of them do, go and sell, so yeah, there's definitely a thematic undercurrent here that traditionally, these women in Katwe, and like the other parts of Uganda and Africa in general, need a man in order to get by, and Harriet has been burnt before. She's not risking trusting again. It's genuinely, upsetting for her when she sees one of her other daughters, Knight, spend so much time with a man that she takes one look at this guy and she says, "I know a hyena when I see one." And I really appreciated this depiction of a struggling parent. Disney themselves have not been the best at this in the past, and I do not think that we still need more movies where it's aimed at younger audiences. The movie is PG, so it's not only for younger audiences, but it's certainly accessible to them. They dance around some of the harsher realities. They do get about as harsh as they can with that rating. Given that it's accessible to kids, it's really great that the parent who perhaps isn't always 100% supportive isn't depicted as this just unreasonable, awful person that just doesn't care about her own kid, you know. I'm not saying no movies like that should be made. I've heard amazing things about Coraline. Maybe I'll watch it at some point, although obviously at this point you don't really want to be saying positive things about Neil Gaiman. Yeah. But this is not that kind of story. This is not about an abusive parent, a parent who doesn't care. It's just one who's scared. You know, their situation was already precarious, and she really worries that this is going to be what tips it over the edge. The movie, for most of it, it feels very credible, with some, the flourishes are what we expect from a sports movie. It does occasionally get a tad melodramatic. There's one part fairly close to the end of the film, like in the last 2/3, I would say. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it got pretty. Yeah, it's entirely possible that there's some that some of the major elements of that scene are based on what actually happened. The way the scene was handled got a little too melodramatic for it to, yeah. Class is a major theme here, and yeah, I think this is something that could maybe help white people appreciate, oh hey, we're not the only ones who struggle, who suffer under class struggle, and there are, it's not only white people who are harsh towards lower class black people. Sometimes other black people are as well. And again, I kind of wish that it would go and underline, part of that is capitalism and white supremacy and these various things that say that, if you're not a high earner, this idea that your earning capacity determines your value and worth as a human being. Now, I think that does pretty much cover everything. As a bit of a chess nerd myself, I would have liked if they got a little bit more into like the actual strategy. Like they'll say things, and it's good advice, but when they show actual chess matches, they don't spend that much time really establishing what is going on. And I do appreciate, chess is not the most cinematic game. I think they could have gone just slightly further. Essentially, it relies on cinematography and acting, especially like the face, to make clear if someone is winning or who's winning and who's losing. There's always going to be one winner and one loser in a chess game. Now, I think that does pretty much right. One of the things about Fiona, she wins us over almost immediately, because not only is she just generally a nice person, she's kind to others that have a similar what's the word? Also a bad situation. But when someone who is in a slightly, less bad situation, she does. What's the word? She stands up for herself. She doesn't accept bullying just lying down. I'm not going to give away exactly what happens, but I will just say I really appreciated that. I'm not saying everybody has to, but yeah. Let's see. Right, and the one of the things, the book yeah, the book is explores the broader context of Fiona's journey, including the socioeconomic conditions in Uganda, her family background, her personal struggles, and she ends up a more nuanced, yeah, it gives a more nuanced look at her as a person. And the film focuses on her rise in the world of chess, also emphasizes the relationship between her and Robert Katenda, her chess coach, and her mother. And yeah, the narrative is streamlined to fit the 2-hour runtime. And let's see. Right, and yeah, some have criticized that the supporting cast don't get that much development. I will say I cared about basically everyone, and I thought also they did a good job on, the movie has at least one antagonist, not really like a villain in the traditional sense, but someone that Fiona, has to face off against in some way. Maybe it'll be in a chess match, and yeah, they did a good job making them the kinds of people we want to see. We want to see them lose and her succeed. I think that might cover everything. And yeah, let's see. Yeah, I rate this 7 powerful queens out of 10. And yeah, I really love teachers like Katende. This thing of, making it fun and exciting to learn. I appreciate that not every teacher can, and certainly I don't blame the ones who are burnt out and thus don't. But the ones who can and choose to do it, obviously the ability is prerequisite for choosing to do it. Yeah, I greatly admire them. There's some of my favorite teachers from back when people still tried to get me to learn anything, were the ones that were fun and really made learning a joy